Welcome to the first showing of A Slippery Slope, Wet Slaps, X-Reader, written and produced by me, Hannah Canali, starring Hannah as YN, Cass as Wet Slaps, and I as Miscellaneous. The story is broken up into 3 acts, so I hope you enjoy. Please God, pass me the mic. Now I have to cut it to my Shrek music. I woke in the morning to my mom screaming my name.
Hannah?
You need to drink more. To pee before we continue. Where's your professionalism? I left my fireball back in my room because I didn't know Wet Slaps was happening. Okay, be right back. This is the kind of video. Pinterest wanted me to no, I had new boards to look at. I actually do have this. I have a blue top. I also need you to stand when you deliver your lines, Ty. But otherwise, your timing was gorgeous. Timing. I'm packing a bowl. You can't expect anything from me. Well, this isn't a bowl. It's not a bowl at all. No, but I'm packing a bowl.
No.
I woke in the morning to my mom screaming my name.
YN?
She hollered, rousing me from my sleep.
Get downstairs right now.
I groaned and rolled out of my bed, throwing my hair into a messy bun. I threw on a raggedy Nirvana shirt, which was way too big for me, and begrudgingly trudged down the stairs. My mom was standing at the counter, seriously pissed off.
You look gross this morning.
She sighed.
I'd say you should get cleaned up by...
Ooh, that should say butt. This was a fury type.
I'd say you should get cleaned up, but you don't have much time. They're gonna be here soon.
They? I asked, grabbing a funky-looking apple from the fruit bowl. What's going on, Mom?
I sold you.
She said matter-of-factly.
I have to be able to pay for your little brother's college. That's... That shit ain't cheap, you know.
I didn't even have time to be shocked. The doorbell rang. As soon as she finished talking, 2 men came into the house, dressed very sharply in black suits.
Miss Wynn.
The bigger of the 2 asked, looking at me. I nodded, scared for what was coming.
You're coming with us to your new home.
Mom? What the fuck is happening? I yelled as the 2 men escorted me out. I took one last look at my house before I was shoved into the back of a black stretch car. I woke up, unsure where I was. I was pretty sure I was in the car. I must have fallen asleep on the ride. I tried to ask the men what was happening, where I was going, but they wouldn't budge. A few minutes later, we pulled up outside a sketchy-looking building. The only indication of where I was a large illuminated sign saying, Pussy Plaza. I was shocked. Was this a club? The men came and opened my door without a word, leading me in a back entrance by my arm. I was hit with the smell of sweat and cheap booze.
Get used to it, sweetheart.
What the men muttered.
This is your new life.
End of Act 1. Act 2. I was led to a back room, tears blinding my eyes.
Here she is, boss.
Man said as I was thrust before a pot-bellied man with a scratchy beard. He walked all around me, looking me up and down with no expression on his face.
She'll do just fine with a little training. Take her to WS.
WS, I asked. Who's WS? Who the fuck are any of you guys? I want to go home, I yelled as I was taken down a dimly lit hall and brought to a door simply marked, The Swamp.
This is where your mentor is. We're not allowed in, so you're on your own, kid.
The smaller man said, with what I detected was a little bit of sympathy. I shakily opened the door, scared to face my mentor and my new reality. I was hit by a suspicious odor as soon as I entered, like a mix of sulfur and petunias. Sitting in a chair, their figure illuminated by only a dim desk lamp, was who I assumed to be WS. They seemed incredibly tall and fit. Probably from all the dancing and weird dick sucking that went on in here. Come here. Her voice croaked, an oddly comfortingly horrible sound. I approached slowly, feeling like my feet were tied down with lead. The chair spun around to reveal a ghastly woman with a sagging face. The grease in her black hair was impossible to miss, just like her piercing emerald eyes. They were kind of pretty. She wore nothing but a navy blue top, and when she stood, I saw her ass was completely bare. And what an ass it was. Bigger than the largest boulder I've ever seen, and absolutely dripping wet. And I mean dripping wet. It was pooling around her stilettos like a clogged bathtub with a hairy drain. She said, looking me up and down. Not terrible. Looks only lots of work before you can get onto my level. I'm Slaps. Wet Slaps, but you can call me WS or ma'am. You understand? Yes, Slaps. I mean WS. I understand. As she shooed me out of the room, I couldn't help but feel a twinge in my chest. Was what I was feeling disgust, or even worse, attraction? End of Act 2. Act 3. Hours later, I was sitting with a front row seat before the main stage. I had been briefed on my new position. I would train under WS, the best stripper Pussy Plaza had ever seen. My mom needed the cash, and I guess to her I was expendable. They already told me escape would be impossible. I had resigned myself to my new fate, and to be honest, I was eager to see WS perform.
And coming to the stage now, our stage performer.
That's
I hope
a
you're
storm,
working.
champ. Let's start over. We gotta do Act 3. Hours later, I was sitting with a front row seat before the main stage. I had been briefed in my new position. I would train under WS, the best stripper Pussy Plaza had ever seen. My mom needed the cash, and I guess to her I was expendable. They already told me escape would be impossible. I had resigned myself to my new fate, and to be honest, I was eager to see WS perform.
And coming to the stage now, our star performer. I hope you're wearing your ponchos because here comes Wet Slaps. And you're all in the splash zone.
The announcer said with an uncomfortable wink. Slaps slinked up to the stage, her bare ass secreting the whole way up. She was dressed in a sequined blue top, her saggy cheeks pinned back so they wouldn't flap around during her intense performance. She grabbed the pole and began intricately sliding around, her ass squirting at members of the crowd. Some were delighted, many were disgusted. When I was hit, I couldn't help but feel aroused. Taking in her ass felt like a sin, but by God, the only holy water I desired came from between her delicious cheeks. Dollar bills greeted the stage, which Slaps put into her cheeks, both pairs, and into her bra. As the show came to an end, she slinked off the stage and planted herself right in front of me. I want you, Wyatt. Meet me in the swamp in 3 minutes. Well, she said nothing. Just watched as her ass shade away from me. I bolted from my seat and all but ran back to her dressing room. When I entered, Slaps was waiting for me. She pinned me against the door, locking it in the process. I'm gonna hang myself. Yes, you do, Chip. Are you ready for this one? She asked soldierly. I nodded slowly, but that wasn't the answer she was looking for. Yes, ma'am. W.S. smiled a vicious smile and threw me to the ground. I don't want to be on the ground, bitch. Get ready, she exclaimed, descending her soggy cheeks down onto my face. I took a deep breath. I'm going to be here for a while. Slaps looked hungry for this, like she needed it. I lapped at her waterfall like a dying man in the desert, drinking in the euphoria of being this close to her. After what felt like hours, Slaps stood off me, visibly pleased. Your turn, slut! She grinned, putting me on my knees. I looked over my shoulders and watched her gather up a handful of her ass sog, which she used to lather up her fingers. which she plunged into me immediately. I didn't make a sound, just surrendered to her and the feeling of having her dripping acid secretions inside of me. I slumped to the ground all too soon, completely spent.
We're gonna get along just fine, Ryan. That's the best I've had in all my 3,012 years of life.
She said, gathering me into her wet but strangely comforting arms. And although I was in this strange new place with this strange new woman, I couldn't help but agree. The end.